Hi guys, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Sophie. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. I make all different kinds of videos, and give this video a like if you kind of liked this more informational story time kind of video. So yes. So this video is going to be a little bit different today. I really wanted to talk about this because it's something that I feel very passionate about, and something that I feel like there was not a lot of information on when I was going through this kind of process. So I wanted to make it readily available for people that may be wanting to pursue this kind of academic career, which, if you can't tell by the title, it's Should I Get My MFA? What was my experience like? Would I do it again? So I have my little list here, which also, how cute are these notepads that my mom gifted to me a while back? And that's me in Greece. Anyway, so I have my little list here. Of what I want to talk about. And so let's just get started. Very casual, very chill. I'm like, let's just talk about it. So what is an MFA? An MFA is a Master of Fine Arts. It is a terminal degree, meaning that it is the highest degree you can be awarded in an arts discipline. I got my MFA in creative writing with a concentration in poetry. You can get your MFA in creative writing and you can concentrate in other avenues. I know some in my program in particular, you could concentrate in creative nonfiction or fiction. There are other MFAs out there where you can do an MFA in playwriting and screenwriting. And if you're interested in media type writing or playwriting, I'm not sure how helpful this video will be. I only know the experience I have getting an MFA in creative writing, specifically with creative nonfiction, fiction, and poetry. So if you're interested in getting your MFA in something that is writing that is not one of those three disciplines, then I'm not sure how helpful this video will be for you. But if you are interested in one of those disciplines, stay tuned and I'll let you know what I think. We kind of establish what an MFA is. I then want to talk about why I actually got mine. So why I got the MFA, let's back up. I knew when I was 13 years old what I wanted to do. I had discovered poetry through a dance friend of mine, Lynn, who I will forever be in debt to because she introduced me to poetry. She was a poet and she would post her poems on her MySpace page. Yes, that's how far back I'm going here, when MySpace was the thing. She used to post her poems on her MySpace page and I would read them, and I already had looked up to her so much because she was in my dance studio. She's beautiful, she's wonderful, she's so kind. She was already kind of a role model for me. And I would look at her poetry and I would read it and I was like, you know what? I think I could do that. So I tried doing it. And I started writing when I was 13. They were really terrible, but I had, and I still have, they're somewhere in my childhood bedroom, notebooks upon notebooks upon notebooks of just really bad poems. And I had loved writing ever since I was a kid. I retrospectively, I'm thinking about it. I think I always subconsciously knew I wanted to be a writer. I mean, I have so many tablets and notebooks from when I was a kid that are just filled with nonsensical stories. And my mom tells me that I would just make stuff up constantly. I would just constantly make things up in my head of games I wanted to play or stories I wanted to write or pictures I was drawing. I was just constantly making stuff up. So I think it's always been in me that is what I wanted to do, but I really knew it when I was 13, which is a blessing. It's a very privileged thing to know what you want to do that young. And I'm not saying that from a place of oh, I'm better than you because I know what I want to do. No, I'm just saying it's a very lucky thing that I knew what I wanted to do when I was so young, because a lot of people are 30 and they don't know what they want to do, and that's fine. That's 100% fine. It's just I happen to know what I wanted. So I knew I wanted to go get my undergrad degree in creative writing. I knew that was always the goal. So that's all I wanted. And I had found my beloved Lycoming. If this is the first video of mine you're watching, I went to Lycoming College in Williamsport, Pennsylvania to get my undergraduate degree, and I majored in creative writing and painting. And I think I somehow got a minor in English. Anyway, So I knew that that's what I wanted to go to school for. I found Lycoming. It's where Lynn went, who was my role model. It's where she got her degree. That's how I found it. And I applied. I applied to other schools, but I didn't really care about it. I applied, I got in, and that's where I went. So during my time at Lycoming, I had to decide what I wanted to do after that. And after experiencing after having the pleasure of experiencing the wonderful faculty that I worked with at Lycoming, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach poetry. I wanted to be a professor. That I wanted to be in higher education. I wanted to inspire kids like my professors inspired me. I wanted to help them on their journey of becoming a writer. Like, that's just what I wanted to do. And I became very passionate about that. And in researching how one becomes a professor, I realized you had to get your MFA. So the reason why I got my MFA, I would love to tell you it was prolific and I wanted to get it because I wanted to learn to write better, but no, I got it because I wanted, and I still actively want to be in higher education and be a professor. So that's why I initially started looking for an MFA program. When I started looking, that's when I realized actually how crazy higher education is. And all of the things about higher education that I dislike. I love higher education. I still want to be a part of it. I still value a higher education, absolutely, but there is a lot that goes on that I don't agree with and I don't think is efficient or correct. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. So I started researching where to get my MFA, and there's basically two different routes you can take to get your MFA. The preferred route, the route that I think everybody would want, is the fully funded route. There are a lot of schools that offer a 100% fully funded program where a lot of them you will teach a course it's like you teach in order to get it paid for. So you'll teach a course, you'll get a stipend, and it's like a 2-year program. Obviously, those are the programs that you want to get into because you don't have to pay for them. And it's wonderful. You get teaching experience. Those schools are also the ones with the most prestigious faculty, where that's where you're going to have, you're going to be taking classes by Billy Collins. You're going to be taking classes by Rita Dell. Like, that's the kind of, I don't know what the word is. That's the kind of faculty you'll be working with. Not to say that other MFA programs that aren't fully funded don't have great faculty, but I'm just letting you know that if you are the kind of person who's dreamed of working with Billy Collins, that's the kind of program you gotta get into. So, but there's other ways, which I'll get to in a minute. But anyway, so I looked into fully funded programs. The problem with those is that they are very, 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 very limited and very, 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 very exclusive. And what I mean by that is one of the top schools that I wanted to go to was Boston College. I'm sorry, not Boston College, Boston University. Sorry, I know that there needs to be a clarification there. I wanted to go to BU. And the reason I wanted to go to BU is because I loved the faculty at the time. I loved the location. I thought Boston would be a great move for me. I loved the fact that it was fully funded, that I was going to be able to teach. I loved every aspect about that. But the problem is they only take 4 people and they take 2 poets. They get, I forget what the number is, but it's something like 2,000 applicants. That could be wrong, it could be different now, but I think at the time I was applying, they got something like 2,000 applicants and they picked 2. So your shot is pretty low. And you gotta be the best of the best, which is objective to who is looking at your application. So I realistically knew, here's the other problem. Here's the other thing that just gets me fired up, is I don't think you should have to pay to apply. I think that is a extremely privileged thing to ask of a person, to pay for the application. Because me in particular, I did not have $1,500 to blow on applications. It's just not something that I had the ability to do. I just didn't have that money. I was fortunate enough that my parents were willing to help me with some of the application fees, and I did spend upwards of hundreds of dollars on application fees, but that just bothers me. This fact that you have to pay like $200 just to submit your portfolio. Like, why is that necessary? It's just another way for universities to make money off of you, which is something that I have a problem with in general. But anyway, again, that's a different story, different topic. So I applied to a couple different schools, and I knew that if I was going to be spending my money on applying to schools, that I shouldn't only apply for fully funded programs, which I recommend to you as well, because again, the chances of you getting in, although not impossible, are low. So I only applied to one fully funded program, and that was BU. Arcadia, which was not a fully funded program. I applied, and Arcadia is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I applied to Hofstra, which is where I ended up going, which is a not fully funded program that is on Long Island, New York. And I applied to the Vermont College of Fine Art, which is actually a low residency program. Now, a low residency program means that you do not have to be on campus full time. So you only have to be on campus for like a couple weeks out of the year. So I think for Vermont, it was like there was 2 weeks in the fall and like 2 weeks in the spring. They actually had to be on campus, but other than that, all of your work could be done remote, wherever it was that you lived at the time, or needed to be. So I had applied to the Vermont College of Fine Art because that is where my mentor in college, Dr. Feinstein, he knew someone that had gone there, and he used to actually teach at that college. So he knew it was a good, upstanding program. So I had applied to those 4 schools. I got in to Arcadia, Hofstra, and Vermont. BU said no. As you can probably imagine, because you obviously, unless you're new here, know I didn't go to BU. Actually, let's back up for a second. Let's talk about applying and what you need to apply. To apply to an MFA program, you need, of course, all of your personal information. You need letters of recommendation. You need to fill out their specific application, answer their specific questions. But the most important thing is your portfolio. And the number one thing that I learned from doing my own research that I want to tell all of you is that your first poem is the most important poem, especially when you're applying to these fully funded programs that get over 2,000 applicants. If you're applying to these fully funded programs, they're only going to look at the first one. I mean, it's just true. Because I think some schools you can send them up to like 20 pages or something. Especially if you're a poet, which poems are usually like 1 page, they're only gonna read the first one. It's just true. So if your first one's not your best, they're gonna skip you. They're gonna move on. They're gonna read this, they're gonna be like, okay, mediocre, move on. It's just the harsh reality of it. So your absolute best, the thing that you have just coveted as your most prideful poem, has gotta be first. Now, I don't know how that works with fiction or creative nonfiction. I don't know how much of it they read. I'm imagining they'll read the first 2 or 3 pages, but I don't know. I just know for poetry, they're only gonna read the first one. So when you're putting your portfolio together, I recommend trusting your gut. Whatever you know in your heart is your best shit that you just want people to see, put it on top. Run it past other people, show it to your professors, show it to your family, show it to whoever it is that you trust with your work. Show it to them, ask them what they think. But at the end of the day, you gotta just trust your gut and put on top there whatever you think is the one that you want these universities to see, how you want to represent yourself as a poet. That whole process was very, very nerve-wracking. I worked very, very hard on that portfolio and trying to make sure that it was top-notch. And I don't even remember what poem I put on top. I think I put Transparency, which obviously you guys don't know that poem, but I think which is actually the opening poem to my first book. Actually, no, it's not. It's the second poem in my book. Sorry, I'm just thinking about my own shit. But yeah, so put your best stuff on top. And at least then you'll know that if you don't get in, at least you tried your best and you put your best foot forward, and it's not because you put your best poem on the 4th page. So let's go back to I get into these universities. Arcadia was a no, because Arcadia was part of a dream that I had with my 2 other friends in college, that we were all gonna move to Philadelphia. And that ended up not working out because one of us got this job elsewhere, this other one backed out. Like, it just wasn't gonna happen. So I didn't pick Arcadia because literally the only reason I had applied to Arcadia, which I don't recommend, was because my friends and I had this idea to move to Philadelphia, which at the time could have been really fun. It's a great program. Like, I bet it would have been a fine time, but it just didn't work out. So then I was between Vermont and Hofstra. The reason I didn't pick Vermont is because I desperately wanted to move out of my hometown. I could have moved to Vermont and have lived in Vermont and still done the low-res program. I'm not saying like that's not something I could have done, but I also really didn't have any dreams to move to Vermont. Like, it wasn't my like place. And I went with Hofstra because at the end of the day, it was New York. And as long as I was in New York, nothing else really seemed to matter. I actually remember getting into all these schools, and I didn't think I was gonna get into, I mean, I knew I was gonna get into Vermont, and that's where I think at the end of the day I thought I was gonna go, because I thought it was the only school I was gonna get into. I didn't think I was gonna get into Arcadia or Hofstra, but I did. And so I remember sitting in one of my best friend's apartments, and he made this Excel sheet for me, which was so nice. He made this Excel sheet for me, and he put all the colleges and the cost and the location and the pros and the cons. I made this huge pro-con list, and I think he knew in his head that I was gonna pick Hofstra. Like, I think he knew that that's ultimately what I was gonna do, is I was gonna pick it, but I think he just wanted to help me kind of like go through the process. So at the end of the day, I picked Hofstra. It was in New York. It had professors that I really admired, and admired their work. And it was just a dream. It was just, everything about it was just a dream. So I picked it. Something that I really recommend in picking your MFA program, if you have the opportunity to pick between multiple schools that you have been accepted at, is pick the schools that you vibe with the faculty. Because at the end of the day, those are the people that are gonna be working on your first manuscript. Like, they're the people that you're gonna go to when you're writing your first book. So it has to be someone that you respect and admire. If you, for example, Phyllis Levin works at Hofstra. If you don't like Phyllis Levin's work, you don't admire her poetry, don't go there. Because she's one of the faculty members that's gonna read your manuscript. You know, like, it's just, you have to research the faculty and research who's there. And you have to go somewhere that you vibe with, that you feel appreciated at, that you feel heard at, that you feel like you're gonna come out of there with a bomb-ass manuscript. That's what you have to think about. And you can think about that in the applying process. Like, if you only wanna apply to schools that you feel like you vibe with the faculty, or if afterwards you wanna do that once you figure out where you get in. For me, I did it afterwards because I just didn't think I was really gonna get in, so I wasn't trying to be too picky. I was just like, as long as I get in somewhere, I can figure it out. Which you can kind of take or leave as if you think that's good advice or not. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I went to Hofstra. My experience at Hofstra is an interesting one. I wanna preface it by saying that the faculty, top notch. Phyllis Levin, Janet Kaplan, Connie Roberts, Martha McPhee. If you don't know who Martha McPhee is, oh my God. Her father, John McPhee, is probably who you know from the New Yorker. I still can't believe I got to work with her, and like, I know her, and like, I email her, like, it's just crazy. But anyway, so they're all wonderful. Top-notch faculty. Literally wrote my first book. Like, they're people I deeply, deeply trust. with my work and what I'm doing. They're amazing. The peers, absolutely amazing. Met literally my best friend. Met a ton of other wonderful people. The administration sucks. And what I mean by that is the people who run the MFA program suck. It's very expensive. It's very, very expensive. Which, is that something I should have considered more greatly? Probably. But it depends. It depends on where you are at in your life and what you value. So at the time, my number one value was just getting somewhere so I could write the book someplace that I admired. I didn't care how many loans I had to take out. Like, that was my priority. Some people prioritize money over those other factors, which is 100% fine, but it depends on what you're valuing. If you are not in the position to take out loans or pay for it yourself, I don't recommend it because it's very, very expensive. But the problem is that the fully funded programs are really hard to get into. Anyway, it's very expensive. I did take out loans to pay for my tuition. And then I worked full time to be able to afford my life, like just my bills and my rent and food and whatnot. And so I would work, I would get into school at 7 to 3:45, and then I'd drive straight to Hofstra, eat some dinner, and I'd go to class. So yeah, if you're going to a school that is not fully funded, where you aren't required to teach, you are gonna have to work full time, and like that is draining and difficult to do, to work all day and then go to class and still find time to write and like do your homework. Like it's difficult to do. So if you're not interested in that kind of lifestyle, then I recommend really, really trying for a fully funded program or a low residency program. Those would be my two recommendations if you are not the kind of person that wants to do that. But I did it, we made it. I worked full time, I went to school, it was fine. I took 3 classes each semester, except for my last 2 semesters where you do your thesis. So 2 classes are like regular traditional classes, and then 1 class is your thesis where you just meet with your advisor and go over your manuscript. The administration is not very helpful when it comes to money. The problem is that they do have teaching fellowships, but you can only take those teaching fellowships if you don't work full time. But you also can't afford to go to that school if you don't work full time. I had expressed these concerns. I've expressed them multiple times. Will anything change? I don't know, but I've expressed this concern, where I would have loved to have been a teaching fellow, but I would have had to quit my job, and I can't quit my job. You want to pay for my university? Sure, I'll quit my job, but not gonna happen. It's not how that works. So if you do go to a program that is not fully funded and you want to teach, don't do it in New York because New York is very expensive. So there was no way for me to work part-time and afford my apartment and be a teaching fellow and go to school. Like, it just wasn't gonna happen for me. It's just not something that I was able to do. I didn't live at home like some of my peers who were able to live at home with their family, not work, and take a teaching fellowship. And those people that did live at home and got those teaching fellowships and were part of that, like, more power to them. That's amazing. It's just not the situation that I was in. So if you are looking to get collegiate teaching experience, and it is not a fully funded program, that is something you really have to consider. Because if you work full time, you're not gonna be able to take it. But sometimes you have to work full time. So it's kind of this balancing act, and you have to decide what you want to do. So I wasn't able to get any teaching experience because I had to work full time. That is not something that administration really understands. My faculty was so understanding of that. They completely knew that I had to work full time in order to be able to attend that university. The administration did not care. They were not helpful. I asked for money, literally begged them to give me money to help pay for my education. They did not. They gave me $5,000 my freshman year. That's so funny. My first year for 1 semester, and then that's it. It's pretty much nothing. You pretty much gave, in retrospect, you pretty much gave me $1 out of $100. Like, you gave me $1 and expected me to pay the other 99. There's very little guidance in terms of coursework, like in terms of like what classes you need to take and like when to sign up for, like all of that is like non-existent, because here we go again. The administration works 9 to 5. If you also work 9 to 5, it's very hard to get in touch with them. And I, again, had expressed this concern. But I had said multiple times, I'm not the only one who works full time. It's not just me. There are tons of people that attend this MFA that work full time. I expressed this concern before. I said, I'm not the only one who works 9 to 5. And if I work 9 to 5, you can't ask me to come to your office at 2:30 on a Wednesday just so I can talk to you about my coursework. Like, you can't. I'm not gonna take a sick day so I can come sit in your office when we could have done this over the telephone, or I don't know, you could have met me there at 4:30, the earliest I could be there. Not the faculty. Faculty is very understanding, always there for me. Administration, not so much. All they care about is money, which again is a different topic. So yeah, would I recommend that you go to Hofstra? It depends. You gotta weigh your pro cons. I got to live in New York. I got a great first manuscript, worked with some really respected faculty, living the dream. Cons, I'm in a lot of debt. That I am consciously aware that I am in, and I pay it back. And I know that I have to pay it back. But I'm in a lot of debt. If that's not something you want to carry on your shoulders, don't go. Difficult times with administration. And that's really it. Do I recommend you get your MFA at all? 100%. 100% recommend getting your MFA if you want it. For multiple reasons, not just because if you want to teach in higher education, maybe you just want to write your first book. The guidance that I got in my MFA to put together my manuscript is invaluable. Like, I would not have the manuscript had I not gotten my MFA. It just wouldn't have happened. And so now I have the manuscript and I have the book. It's ever changing, but at least I have it. So yeah, I would 110% recommend you go get your MFA. I am not trying to like shit on MFAs at all. Highly recommend that you get it. The outcome is that, again, I have my manuscript. I have great people that I can refer back to for guidance. I met really wonderful people who still read my work today, my peers and whatnot. And that's very, very helpful. You do build a community of people who are gonna be there to read your work as long as you maintain that relationship with them, which is very helpful because, as most of you who have either gone to undergrad or gotten your MFA and have come out of that, you know how hard it is to find a workshop and to find a space to have people read your work and critique it outside of a classroom. So it's very valuable to make those connections with people and to be able to have them. So yeah, that's my experience getting my MFA and what I thought about it and recommending it to you. If you guys have any other questions specifically about, like, if you're thinking about getting your MFA, or if you're in the middle of doing it, or maybe you just got accepted, you don't know where to go, like, if you have any kinds of questions like that, please leave me a comment down below. I would love to answer. I might not have all of the answers, but I would love to at least provide you with some sort of guidance. So if you do have those questions, please let me know. Just comment them down below and I'll be sure to respond to it. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. I know it's like not like a cute like vlog and like lifestyle vid and like you can't shop or anything, but I just thought it was really important to kind of share my story. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.